don't think you realize what kind of trouble you were in last night.
What's that like to live deliciously?
Who do you think those people were? If I told you their names, I don't think you'd sleep so well.
Welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Cult Podcast. I'm your host, Cody Maloof. With me, as always, my co-host, Dante Troina. And we're getting into another one of our most anticipated movies of the year. This is Spider-Man Brand New Day. Dante, we went into this one with pretty high expectations, or at least I did. How were you feeling kind of going into the movie? How do you feel now that we've seen it?
Yeah, I think just going into the movie in general after No Way Home, it's announced that it's a brand new day. We've got a whole fresh reset. We have a really clean character slate here. And so that was my biggest driving force of excitement going in this film, is that we just get a fresh start with Spider-Man. I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I like Destin Daniel Cretton's previous direction in the MCU. And trailers look to have some sort of sauce to them, some sort of unique-ish story with a lot of different things going on, and just trying to unpack what this movie was going to be. And then we unpacked it, and maybe some parts were better, some parts were worse, which we're going to get into. But all in all, I wouldn't call it a lives up to the expectations movie. But again, maybe my expectations were too high. I got too up there on the Marvel juice.
We did have high expectations for this, and maybe in hindsight, going into this late phase of the MCU, maybe we should have tried to temper the expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
But I agree, Dante. I mean, the trailer really had a really strong hold on me when it came out. I thought the trailer was excellent. It really promised something new for the character of Spider-Man, this iteration of Spider-Man, the MCU version. And I don't really want to bury the lead or get too ahead of ourselves here. But my overall opinion on this movie was that it didn't really live up to what I wanted it to be. And maybe that's unfair to judge a movie based on what I wanted it to be versus what it actually is.
Right.
But I was just a little let down by Spider-Man Brand New Day overall. I think we still have general positive feeling, generally positive feelings towards the movie overall. But there was I think this movie just left a lot to be desired overall. The promise of a brand new day, I don't think was delivered on. This just felt like the next day. It didn't really feel like a brand new day for our MCU Spider-Man. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all. I think I have the same maybe moral conflict that you have, where it just didn't give me what I wanted. I didn't think anything on the screen was terrible. I wasn't ever thinking that any scenes played out super bad or anything. I just had a lot of stuff in this movie that I could have done without and was not interested in myself. And, there's a lot of baggage. It's fucking Spider-Man, dude. That's why we were hyped up for it. But, as somebody who has read the comics, rewatches Spider-Man movies pretty much, I don't know, monthly, it feels like. I just always put one on while I'm cleaning around the house or doing whatever, or working on stuff. It's just a big character for me. So I get hyped up for anything cool with Spider-Man. I could rewatch the Amazing Spider-Man 2 trailer and be excited as hell, because that was a great trailer as well.
Right. There's two of, I think, the biggest Spider-Man fans you could find, both in the comics, the cartoons we used to watch as kids, all the movies. We are very well versed in this character. I think we are well qualified to speak on the history of the character and kind of what we expect from a Spider-Man movie. And not that I need something to be what I expect. I like when things subvert my expectations. That's why I think Into the Spider-Verse is still the best Spider-Man movie, because it just completely blew my expectations out of the water. It was just something I was not ready for. I was ready for something a bit different than this. I mean, I agree, Dante. I think that overall this movie looks good. It's a step up visually from the shoebox cinema we got, especially from No Way Home, where everything is layers of green screen and visual effects. This movie does have the sauce in that sense. The fight sequences, I think, are much improved. I really liked how the fight sequences were inspired by some of the fighting from the video games, which the video games that we also really enjoy playing.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite games of the last probably 10 years or so. I really did like that. I like how they took inspiration from different mediums like video games. But that's kind of where I think my praise ends. I mean, I think we should talk about more about what we liked first and then get into maybe what our problems were. I like the direction. I like the action. I always like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he is great. He's been great forever, ever since he entered the MCU in 2016. And I did like the pairing of Spider-Man and the Punisher. That's something that is very like well has been done many times in the comics to great effect. We love John Bernthal's Punisher, so I thought he was like a very
Yeah.
smart addition to this movie. I liked the way they play off of each other, even though Punisher is the much more toned down PG-13 version of the Punisher in this movie, which we kind of knew he was going to have to be. He's more comic relief than anything else here, but I did like that pairing. How did you feel about Bernthal Punisher with Spider-Man?
It was an awesome pairing, and I think it played in the themes really well too,
Yeah,
of being alone, isolating yourself. Like,
sure.
especially as somebody, it was kind of cool to see somebody that I knew that I watched the movie with was like, I didn't know John Bernthal was Punisher, but I know who the Punisher is. So it was a cool connection moment, and they are going back and watching the Disney Plus show now, and so that's cool to see as well because, or not Disney Plus show, holy smokes,
The
Netflix
Netflix
Punisher show
show,
that is now on Disney Plus.
right?
Let's not give Disney Plus that much credit. But Bernthal, I think, is really hamming it up here and having a good
Definitely.
time with the PG-13 rating. And just every time he's on screen, like the movie starts moving at a better pace. Whenever he's on the screen, him and Spider-Man have some sort of dynamic going on that is just a hell of a lot of fun to watch. They lean into his little screams there and grunts, just shooting at people and yelling. And Bernthal is fucking good at that. He's always been good at that. It's like, every time Spider-Man says something he doesn't like, when it's just Bernthal's having a great time, man.
Um, I like what you said about the pacing in this movie. It does feel like it's moving at a pretty decent clip when the Punisher is on screen with Spider-Man for the most part. There are some major pacing issues in this movie, though.
Yes.
I feel like we get going and then we slow way down. And then we speed up again for about another 20 minutes and then we slow way down again. And it's MJ and Peter having a long conversation. And that's also kind of what I don't really like about this movie. And kind of going back to this not really being a brand new day is why are MJ and Ned in this movie, Dante? They shouldn't be here. They're like, it feels like just baggage. And like you said, the government mandated Ed Leeds role in this movie, along with MJ. I just thought the promise of a brand new day had so much more to offer than
Right.
Peter trying to get right back to where we left him.
Right. Well, it's one of the cardinal rules in filmmaking and sequel making, right? Like you don't make a choice at the end of one movie to try and be going back on that choice in the start of the next movie.
Exactly.
Like that is just boring. Like it comes from like the Flash season 2 where he runs back into time and saves his mother's life. And then by season 3, episode 2, everything's fine again and back to normal. Right. And that choice means nothing. Aliens. Ripley fights her ass off to survive. Alien 3, she's dead in the first 15 minutes. And so it's not good payoff for people who indulge in this franchise, and this is the biggest thing about franchise filmmaking is you want to keep that momentum going and keep the buck going with your fans. And it feels like this was maybe playing into fan service and then having its cake with the Zendaya feature, basically to try and help with box office and help with future sales and future kind of outsider type fans of the movie.
Dante, if Zendaya and Tom Holland are not dating / now married, is she in this movie?
No.
I don't think so either.
No. It's exactly what we talked about before. Like it felt really government mandated from the trailers. It felt out of place. It doesn't have any sort of, I don't think if Zendaya's, as big of a star as she is either, she's just not in this movie. There's just no way.
Well,
obviously I know star power and relationships drive a lot of stuff, but every time she's on screen, I feel like we're having a conversation that doesn't need to be had yet or has already kind of weirdly been played out in one way or another. And, like the whole scene of him going up into the apartment and them being friends again. And he's like, wow. Or she says, wow, you guys really were friends. It's like, I know I'm the audience. I saw them be friends.
We saw 3 movies of that.
I know the weight he's feeling, I don't need to hear it again that he's feeling some weight on his shoulders. Like obviously to me.
Exactly. I think some of the most compelling stuff in this movie, besides the fight sequences that I mentioned earlier, and I think some of the good character work with Tom Holland as Spider-Man, is that like 4-minute montage at the beginning of the movie of him kind of fighting all of a bunch of cool classic villains. That was the brand new day because we get a big time jump. The beginning of this movie moves us ahead 4 years. Spider-Man
it
basically
skipped through
does
the brand new day.
right. We skipped through the brand new day. We did 4 years in basically 4 minutes. We see Tombstone, we see Scorpion, we see the Hand. Right? No, maybe it's not the Hand, but he fights a couple other.
We do see the Hand in that too.
We do
Yeah.
see them. That's right. And like some stuff that I thought the movie was actually going to be about was him on his own during those 4 years where he's not having any contact with Ned or MJ. And we see him kind of watching them from afar. We see him like watching Ned's post on social media and kind of tracking their progression through college. This movie picks up after Ned and MJ have gone to MIT together and graduated. That's really where this movie starts. And then it's Peter being alone, trying to get back to them, but also trying to deal with this new metamorphosis that he's going through because his loneliness is kind of manifesting in his spider powers becoming heightened, and he's like he's getting way stronger. He gets a big power upgrade in this movie. Again, something I like something that I really think is cool. And I think they're also trying to give him a power upgrade so he can like stand up more in Doomsday and Secret Wars and kind of be a even more powerful character. But that's really not what this movie's about. That's in the very beginning of the movie, and it's at the very end, but it doesn't feel like that's really the arc of the character. He has like 2 or 3 half-baked arcs in this movie instead of one fully rounded out character arc.
Yeah. Well, I like that you brought up the opening montage because to me, if you were asking me like, what do you like about the movie? I like the first 20 minutes a lot. Like I thought we were in for exactly what I hoped we were in for, which is just a cool, fresh start and kind of train hopping around New York. And like, I even like the scene of him and Florence Pugh just in the bathtub. I know it's like kind of this quirky MCU comedy scene, but like I enjoy New York being populated. I enjoy Spider-Man going around it. I enjoy maybe him putting together a mystery. Like I think that's kind of fun too.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I'd follow.
Like
Spider-Man
again, more
on in
inspired by the
comic
video
book.
games.
And then Mr. Milicic comes on screen and he's like he's obviously the bad guy.
Obviously
and
the bad
there,
guy.
think,
as soon as he comes on the screen.
The movie slows down to an insane degree after that. And I don't think it tries to pick back up. And I know you say like the pacing is kind of up and down. I don't feel for me like I ever got on the edge of my seat until maybe the end of the movie.
Dude, we watched this movie.
The whole middle of the. Go ahead. Yeah.
We watched this movie at 10 p.m. I was actually nodding off a little bit. I didn't actually fall asleep, but I really felt myself like towards the end of this movie being like, oh, I need to actually like try to keep myself awake here. That should never happen during a Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Man.
I watched The Odyssey at 7 p.m. and went right back in again at 10 p.m. and I was locked in the entire time.
Right.
Hard to compare an MCU movie to a Nolan movie. Like that's not even like a fair comparison whatsoever, but I just couldn't really believe that I was almost that disengaged from a Spider-Man movie. It's something I've never really felt before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
I'll agree with that point blank. Like, and it's a bummer because I don't think after the first 20 minutes of this film, like I think I was even more excited after seeing what we were kind of doing in the first 20 minutes. And then it just completely 180s and deviates from that. And just interesting choices, man. And I don't think any of it is bad. I just think none of it means anything to me as a viewer. Like I really do not buy. You spent 3 movies trying to convince me that Zendaya and Tom Holland were some perfect couple and you couldn't do it then. So I don't know why you're spending a 4th one trying to like tease me that they might be getting back. Like even when there's the scene where it's supposed to make you think that she's in love with him again and knows or something after True Love's kiss, which was, I feel like the person who like knew that Santa wasn't real in the theater. Like I knew that she was gonna snap back into being Jean Grey. That felt pretty obvious as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even in that scene though, I wasn't like, man, if only she knew right now, oh, everything would change. Like there's nothing in me that really wants her to know, or thinks that the dynamics can be reset right back to what we had, which was what, again, like, I don't think people were generally interested in out of the last trilogy. It was like, they wanted to see Spider-Man on his own, growing, becoming this powerful superhero. And I think it's hard to say, like you say, like the MCU is trying to give him more legs to stand on in Secret Wars. But to me, it's like, dude, Spider-Man fits more into outer space than he does into some of his own films in this trilogy and now this quadrilogy, basically of No Way Home and Brand New Day. And Outer Space Spider-Man makes a lot of sense. You didn't have to make me buy in Infinity War because Spider-Man is one of the most powerful characters in the MCU. He fits in almost everywhere.
Exactly. He's like one of the characters where any movie he shows up in, the movie is better that he's in it, and you're just happy to see
Right.
him.
Right.
I really thought that we had a good chance again with the whole concept of a brand new day to like introduce a secondary love interest. Spider-Man has had many love interests in all of the different fictional media that he has been in over the years, mainly the comic books. But I mean, we could have had a Gwen Stacy, we could have had a Felicia Hardy, we could have even had maybe a romance with Jean Grey, even, you know. I mean, she's maybe a bit younger than him, I think, in the canon here in the MCU, but that could have been tweaked. I mean, we could have had a lot. There was a lot of different directions to take this, and I just don't feel good about going back down the same exact road that we've been down for the past 10 years. It just feels like we've done it many times at this point already.
Yeah, and let's just deviate a little bit. Let's get into Jean Grey.
We should talk about Jean Grey.
Yes. One of the worst kept secrets. I mean, they did a good job at trying to keep it secret.
I don't really care though. I don't really care that it wasn't like kept a secret.
It was like very obvious, right? I agree. Like, I'm not too heartbroken. Like, oh, I shouldn't have known Jean Grey was there coming in. I thought Sadie Sink did really well. I don't have the big complaint of, well, I did maybe want a brand new day in a street level Spider-Man and just doing, Spider-Man stuff. I don't have the big complaint that like, oh, there's an X-Men character in my Spider-Man movie. Like, she worked well as a villain and played into the themes well. I think she actually made some of the themes hit and made those Aunt May speeches that we went back to hit, which hit harder for me than the loneliness themes on the MJ side of things.
Right. I mean, Peter's real superpower is like his ability to connect with people and like talk some of the villains down off the ledge, and like be more personable. That's really like the ending sequence, the ending scene. It does kind of stick the landing a little bit when he, has this heart to heart with Jean Grey and he relates to her and makes her realize that she's not alone, and like, I know how you feel. That to me, that did work. I just don't really think Jean Grey needed to be in this movie. And there's a couple other characters that did not need to be in this movie. I think Spider-Man is your A++ character in Marvel Comics, in the MCU. I don't really understand why we're using a Spider-Man movie to springboard into an X-Men movie. To like soft launch the X-Men in a Spider-Man movie. That's beneath the character of Spider-Man. Like, we can do that in some other movie. And obviously, I think the reason they're doing it here is because it wouldn't near have the same impact in, say, the fourth Captain America movie or something like that, that it would have in the Spider-Man movie. But I just don't really like being like Trojan horse into an X-Men movie, like, with my Spider-Man movie. I just want Spider-Man. Jean Grey and Spider-Man have no history in the comic books whatsoever. They don't really have any crossover. The X-Men and Spider-Man don't really do a lot together. Not to say that they can't do stuff in the movies, but you have to make it interesting. Otherwise, it's like, I just don't really understand what we're doing here. She's set up as the villain, but we all know as soon as you tell her that she's Jean Grey, that she's not the villain.
She's going to come around. Yeah.
So there's no tension.
No, I agree with that. I think everything that she's doing on screen works. Like, Sadie Sink is giving a pretty solid performance.
She is.
But it is a very predictable arc. Like, we know where it's going when Jean Grey is officially revealed in the film. Like, okay, she's going through one of her Jean Grey tough times, and she'll get there because Dark Phoenix is going to happen at some point. Okay, whatever. But I don't like that we had two Spider-Man movies that were, really heavy into Iron Man. I don't like that we had two Spider-Man movies or three Spider-Man movies that really did not have an original villain besides Vulture. I think Vulture and Mysterio were both really ripped off of Tony Stark's, coattails. Into those films.
Absolutely.
So we had two original villains that didn't feel like they were Spider-Man villains full on. And then we have the third movie where he doesn't even have his own new villain in it. They're just recycled villains from other films. And I like what you said about Spider-Man being the A++ character. Is like, we don't need not just Jean Grey, not just X-Men, any other franchise coming in. We don't need anybody coming into Spider-Man to lift him up. Exactly. He is not the hero that you have like a B side to. He's one of the only heroes that has never had like just a solidified, long-standing sidekick as well. Him and Miles Morales get together in other universes and whatnot. But Spider-Man's never had like, this big comic where it's him and some protege underneath him. He's had episodes with, the Punisher, with Daredevil, with Deadpool, Fantastic Four, playing off of them. but he has never been someone that needs that B-side character to help him get through a story.
Yeah, we just don't need a bunch of other characters in this movie that all they're doing is taking time away from the Spider-Man arc that I think is buried in this movie. I think there's a really cool arc somewhere lost in this movie, which this movie's too long. You could have cut at least half an hour out of this movie. Like Bruce Banner, Incredible Hulk, does
At
not need
least,
to be in this movie
yeah.
whatsoever. He's in it basically just for the trailer, and there's some really ham-fisted plotting going on with Peter 3D printing this magic little dot that can just take away anyone's superpowers. That's incredibly irresponsible and just silly comic book movie writing in itself there.
Didn't they call it the universal suppressor or
Yeah,
whatever? The
just
universal, the ones who own Hulk.
oh yeah, okay, sure.
Crazy, dude.
Sure.
I think that was on purpose for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's just like, what are we doing? Why does Spider-Man have a magic 3D printer in his room, in his apartment still, that he can just print any magic thing? Like, he just has one conversation about Bruce Banner and he's like, well, theoretically, I guess you could do this. It's like, well, obviously he's just going to do it now. He also has an AI in his suit still. I thought we got rid of that at the end of No Way Home, and he's like sewing his own costume in his sewing machine. And now all of a sudden he has an AI chatbot assistant in his suit again. It's like, we're going backwards. We're not going forwards. And it just feels just kind of disappointing to me.
Yeah, I can't take credit for this one, but it was like more like Spider-Man, same old shit.
Sure.
Like, and not again, nothing like I rated this 3.5 stars. I had fun times with it. This feels like a very negative review, but it's more like just I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in you because I do think like Tom Holland gets on some people's forums like a bad rap. I'm really excited about Tom Holland as Spider-Man still.
Me too.
I really think he can deliver. Like, I think he has some great movie in him. I wish that this felt the way like the Batman did, or even to a lesser extent, like what like Superman did going out of it last year, where it's like feels like a defining love letter to the character. And this was not that. Like this had that, and then it dangles it in front of you, and then says, "Oh, well, we're not doing that." We need to talk about his buddies from high school.
I think that's a really apt comparison because I gave Spider-Man Brand New Day 3.5 stars on Letterboxd and Superman 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, but I felt like we were way more positive about Superman. We were way more high
because
on
of the
Superman
messaging.
Because of the messaging, because it was a clean character arc that it introduced like other characters in that universe that we're going to see later, but not in a way that felt like it detracted from the main character. And this movie did the opposite of that. I thought it like introduced a bunch of new characters and it felt like it took away from the main character that we were supposed to be focused on.
Yeah, and I really don't like because I was interested. The arc, it's been done before in a reverse way in Spider-Man 2. It's been done a lot of times in the comics. Him losing his powers, him enhancing his powers being out of whack, being out of balance with him. And it just shows up when it's convenient. There's never anything actually done with that besides at the end where he's, I can hone my powers, which like it doesn't feel like an earned moment because I'd forgotten that his powers were out of whack for the last, I don't know, third of the movie because the writers obviously forgot that his powers were out of whack because it's just never capitalized on. And I really didn't like the way like it goes into like he gets extra mad too. And they just kind of like either you need to do that or you don't. You can't say that he's having anger issues and beating the shit out of fake Scorpion and choking MJ at one point and saying get out of her to Jean. And then he's just kind of fine. There's no repercussions from that. And again, like it's just classic MCU. There's no repercussions from the actions. And it's really sad because I do think we are both commend the choice at the end of No Way Home because it felt very ballsy. And to have what feels like not much, well, really little to no payoff from that is just an empty feeling, dude, because I think we're both, again, why we were so excited is that we felt like this was a brand new day.
Yeah, inconsequential. I think that is like, if I had to sum this movie up in one word, it would be inconsequential. Like nothing of consequence really happened at all, besides the introduction of a different character. Like that's really the main thing that happened in this movie. What I was saying before was I feel like the same thing you were getting at. There is a really cool arc buried in this movie of him being alone, being depressed, and going through this physical change. and really having to reckon with that and having to deal with a lot of like the pent up anger and frustration and depression that he is going through while also still having to be Spider-Man. You know what? He almost kills Scorpion. I
Right.
find that stuff interesting when he can't quite
Right.
control himself, but he almost kills Scorpion and then we forget about it for like another hour. And then we just go
Yeah.
right back to like, oh, but I got to get with MJ and I got to do this and that. And it's not, it's just very uneven storytelling. And there's way too much. And it's like, now I got to go meet the Hulk. And now also got to deal with Jean Grey and all this. And the Punisher is here too. It's just a lot going on. And we also have
Yeah.
like the new cop character introduced who is like just a ripoff of like the lady
Watanabe
cop.
Yuri from the yeah.
Yuri from the video games. Um Literally in there for no reason. Just to kind of give him someone to talk to when he is lonely
Yeah.
Spider-Man. We don't need any of that. There's just a lot of stuff in here we don't need. I didn't really love the Florence Pugh thing, but if that's the most if that's the least necessary thing in this movie, great. Like we've made a good
Yeah.
if that's the only
Yeah.
thing that I'm like, what's going on here? That's great. Like I agree with you. I agree with what you said. I like New York being populated. That's what makes comic books fun. Comic book storytelling fun is characters that popping in and like
Yeah.
helping our main hero out for a minute here, a minute there. What we don't need is 15 minutes of exposition with Bruce Banner just explaining this MacGuffin plot device to us so we know
And
what it is when
explaining
we
that
use
he's
it.
Hulk.
Yeah,
Like that
we
he,
know.
like fuck. And that's the same thing that plays into like explaining that they were friends. That that whole scene, Cody, where MJ finds the letter and figures out, and the theater just, oh, she found the letter. Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
And then it delves into, her I don't love you, which is a heartbreaking line. And then she needs to swing home because she doesn't have her car keys or whatever. And so, the swing home is like, okay, I get why they're doing this because it is sad to see him just like dead, limply swinging her back. Like,
Right, like that's
okay,
a good
I
moment. That
like
is a
that
good
choice.
moment.
And then she invites him up into their apartment, and then they play Legos, and he meets, and it just goes on
It goes way too
forever,
long.
dude. It's like 20-25 minutes of just like this relationship that you've already told me is so doomed, but then you're giving me more of it. And it's like, you have told me so many times that the book is closed on this relationship that I don't believe anymore. And I don't know why he's in this room,
Mm-hmm.
And so they've like given themselves so many times to just close the door on it. And the scene just keeps fucking going. And it's not sprinkled in there. Cause I was okay with like, I think one scene they do this really well is when he kind of goes to the party and like wanders into the party after the little Tame Impala
Yeah.
montage.
Uh-huh.
And he sees MJ getting kissed by her new boyfriend. He says, "That's my girl." I'm like, shit, okay. And he goes on his night swing in his street clothes, and it's implied that he like won't throw up the next web to catch himself. Like he
Right.
just wants to splat on the ground. It's like, holy fuck, that's really cool stuff. Like I know that's funny that's what I'm getting excited about. Is like Spider-Man's depressed as shit,
But
but
we like our
this
characters
is
being
one of those
put
heroes. Is like, yeah,
we like them
pushed
being put in
some way.
new, interesting situations where they're not always like this shining beacon of like positivity and hope. And it's nice to see every once in a while our characters be faced with a difficult situation, not only in the sense of like being a superhero, but also being a person. That's what makes Peter Parker so interesting, is that he's just a guy. Like he is
Right.
now he's like a young 20 something year old, like young kid, young adult, who is trying to figure out how to exist in the world. Relatable
Yeah.
for people of our age. Absolutely. We've always like related to Spider-Man. But it just felt again like they didn't really want to go there. Like you said, like
Yeah.
they wanted to give us hints to that, but they didn't really want to like fully commit to something like that. And that's just a bit underwhelming. I mean, I guess we just gave the MCU too much credit. I think that obviously
Yeah.
looking back on it, like there are moments in this movie where this movie really just fucking hates its audience or does not trust us at all to like decipher
Yeah.
any information without it being spoon fed to us. Like when Spider-Man steps out into the city and he's like, his senses are overloading. There's literally the AI assistant in his suit going, your senses are being overloaded. It's like, we
Right.
fucking know. Like, you don't need to
Right.
tell us. We can see based on how the character is acting and reacting. We know what he's experiencing. We don't need an AI voiceover like to tell us. That to me is just like this movie's made for 8-year-olds. Like, and nothing against the
Yeah.
kids. Like, obviously, kids are a gigantic part of Spider-Man. We loved Spider-Man growing up as a kid. I just liked the more mature version of storytelling when it comes to Spider-Man. Like
Yeah.
they're like the Tobey Maguire stuff. Like there you would never find anything like that in a
No.
much more mature movie like Spider-Man 1, 2, or even 3.
And I don't need you to go full Garfield on me where we're just all black doom and gloom.
Right.
Um,
There's a middle ground.
but I we just praised the moment of the swing, the silent swing. You know what was so great about that? It was silent. You know what was so great about the one with MJ too is like you can see everything you need to see about Peter on his face through the spider mask that he's just limply swinging with her there. Like we don't need to be told how he's feeling at all times. Uh, what do you think about? Because I do like that first scene of maybe him wandering into MJ and Ned's apartment. That feels natural enough, right? Like he musters up the courage or whatever and follows him. If they never put MJ and Ned in the rest of this movie, right? Until the very end, when he has the moment with Ned and has the handshake, and Ned all of a sudden knows the handshake, I think I'd like that better.
Definitely.
Right? If that's like the natural ending where he just, after this whole journey, and he tells Aunt May, which is a great line about like, I'm not going to do this alone anymore. Actually love that line, like love the theme behind it, love the hope and heroism behind it. And then he runs into Ned. And then he does that, right?
Yeah.
But Ned's so present in this movie that I know Ned and him are going to, figure it out at some point. And so it just kind of spoils that final moment to me.
I agree. I think that would be a much more impactful way to tell the story. Like I really thought that when he goes into the apartment and sees MJ with her new boyfriend, like that was going to be the only time we see her, maybe until the very end of the movie. That makes it way more impactful because we know that she doesn't remember him and we know that he wants to be with her, but we don't need another hour and change of him trying to get back with her. We know she's not going to remember him. So it's just kind of doomed storytelling. It's like there's no satisfying conclusion that can be reached. I would have liked it a lot more, like if something like you said. And again, I feel kind of bad about just being like, I would have liked it way more if it did this than that, because that's kind of unfair criticism, but it's just how I feel. And I feel like I have a really good barometer for storytelling in the MCU, Spider-Man storytelling.
What I want my Spider-Man to be.
Yeah. And obviously everyone likes different things. This movie is doing incredibly. I think we have to acknowledge that this is
absolutely
this is already, I think, the biggest Spider-Man movie of all time. This is going to be one of the biggest movies of the year. This is one of the biggest movies of all time already. I mean, I think it has the record now for opening box office weekend. So the hype and the goodwill behind this movie is like something that we rarely see, even with the MCU. And obviously Marvel is loving this, and they're not going to take away, I think, any of the criticisms I think people have of this movie is just going to roll right off their shoulders, because this movie's making $1 billion like in like a week. So it doesn't really matter. I'm happy for them, but at the same time, it would have been better if they could have learned a lesson from this movie and been like, hey, maybe we should like try to do something more mature and something more just realistic, or I don't know. I'm just overall a little bit bummed by this movie, and I'm sad that I am.
I do hope that they learn some positives from this movie, because there is like the sauce is back. There's a real like presentation style. Dude, when he is jumping off of buildings, you feel it. Like it is really cool. Like you said, like the fight scenes feel like they have some weight to them. I enjoy just Spider-Man feels very powerful in this movie, even before you have the arachnid powers and hormones going up. Like he feels like a character that you should be respecting at all times when he's on screen, because he's the most powerful person in the room. And I think Tom Holland's performance is, he gets a bad rap as Spider-Man. I'm ready to say it. Like, I know.
You think so? I don't even really think he does.
I think a lot of people, while there are people that are enjoying this movie, I think there are a lot of people that just do not take him seriously as an actor. And I know he's been just kind of stuck in the Marvel machine, but I've always really liked him as Spider-Man. Like I've never had a hard time buying into him as Spider-Man. I think it's funny when people pan him for being like a bad Spider-Man or something, and then he's in another movie and they're like, all I could see was Spider-Man. Well, that means he's a fucking good Spider-Man. If
he is a really good Spider-Man.
And he has had just a weird, like muddled career almost. Like he feels like a franchise player that went to the wrong team sometimes. Where I think he probably has given the best performances as Spider-Man in movies that I haven't, returned to as much or have that nostalgia for. Whereas like Toby's probably, the one that I watched most, but I think he might have been some of the weakest performances as Spider-Man,
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love those movies. And so like legacy talks with him are kind of weird among the three Spider-Man. I think he gets disrespected a lot in that.
Yeah, I've never had any issue with him as Spider-Man or Peter Parker. I mean, when he was first cast, I think the main thing we really loved is that he was an actual kid. And that was
Yeah.
something at the time where we was just like, we were all about it because the previous two Spider-Men had felt like 29-year-olds playing a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Tom Holland is a 30-year-old playing like a 25-year-old in this
5-ish year
movie.
old now. Yeah.
25. That's much more accurate. And he also just feels a lot younger and more youthful. But this movie
He
also
does.
tries to age him up a little bit and make him into a young adult Spider-Man, a bit more mature versus
Yeah.
the kid Spider-Man, the teenage Spider-Man we had gotten, previously for the last, every other appearance he had in the MCU. The movie just doesn't quite rise to that level, though. The movie and the themes and what it's trying to do aren't as mature as I think they want you to believe that the character is, and so it's kind of stuck in this
Yeah.
weird gray area.
Has this Spider-Man, and correct me if I'm really wrong on this, has he ever like worked a job besides
I
the
don't think we've
Stark
seen him do
internship?
shit. Yeah,
Has he ever like
no.
that's part of the charm of Spider-Man too, is like it doesn't have to be the Daily Bugle, but like I would like if he was going to class at Empire State
Mhm.
University. I would like if he was doing more Spider-Man stuff. I would like if you didn't just I know sometimes it's like show don't tell, but I would like if you told me a little bit more about like how smart he
Or
is
show us a
and
little bit of it, right?
show us him going to class, right? But I feel like they skip a lot of the steps and just show us that he has all this stuff built. And I think Spider-Man should be smart. I can totally get behind him having maybe an AI or him having like a computer and tech and all this. But you haven't shown me anything to prove that like that's really needed here or that's really earned by this character or takes him to a better level.
Yeah, I was okay with it in the first, like previously before Brand New Day in the first three Spider-Man movies, plus Avengers, whatever, in Civil War, because he was the Tony Stark protege. He had been given this super high-tech Spider-Man suit from Tony Stark. He'd been given multiple Spider-Man suits from Tony Stark. And it felt like it was a different version of the character who was getting a lot of help from Iron Man because he was so young. But again, the promise at the end of No Way Home was he's going out on his own. He's sewing this suit by hand. He's really gonna be doing this himself. But he has like a crazy overpowered 3D printer in his apartment that can print anything he wants,
Yeah.
all this crazy high-tech shit. I really thought we were going to get away from that
Yeah.
in this movie. I thought we were going to get away from that. It was going to be much more street level, kind of like classic Spider-Man. And it's just not.
Yeah. That mask has always been insanely expressive. Like some of the most iconic shots of Spider-Man, all of the most iconic shots of Spider-Man, I'd wager, are him with the mask on.
Sure.
And there's this iconic comic book panel by Sal Buscema where Spider-Man finds out that he breaks into Harry Osborn's apartment and finds the Green Goblin mask. And it's completely wordless and it just keeps cutting back to Spider-Man looking at it and everything he's thinking. And so I really get where like they need an AI or they need something to talk to him. But sometimes I do wish they just give us some visual storytelling and just kind of show us what he's thinking. I don't need to hear, again,
Right.
that he's having a hard time or this or that. Like I like piecing it together with him. I like do some of I guess Gosling has a bit to play off of in Project Hail Mary, but do some of that where he is just kind of like pluckily going along through life and figuring things out for himself. Like I think Tom Holland has the capability to do that. I think he's incredibly charming.
He is
and
really
does
good
well
in the
in
suit.
those settings.
He's really good
Yeah.
at being expressive in the suit behind a mask. I mean, he's really good at conveying the emotions that the character is feeling. Like when there's the scene when he's arguing with the Punisher and he's like giving him the hands and doing all this. Like
Yeah.
he's really, really good at that. Tom Holland is a very physically gifted performer. And
Yeah.
I just don't think we need an AI to narrate things and help him out. I think the most tech I'm willing to allow in the Spider-Man suit at this point is the lenses and the eyes changing because it's so like dead on to the comics. That's kind of
Yeah.
one of those things in comic books where it makes no sense that the static
Right.
eyes on his mask are like, widening and closing based on like his
Emoting, yeah.
emotions. That was really a clever thing they did in the MCU was find a way to integrate that. That's like the most tech that I'm willing to allow because I think it serves the character in a really cool way. I just am done with the tech Spider-Man. I was willing to, I was on board with it for a while for the previous iteration, but I felt like this was going to be a new version of the character. We're going to get away from that, and I'm just disappointed that we didn't.
Yeah. The ending. Let's cut to the chase.
Yeah, sure.
Really quickly, I guess one gripe. The hand should never be, I don't know. They should just never be in a movie like this.
Will you give
like
us the hand, that sick shot of him facing down the hand in the trailer, and then again of him, like, there's two shots in the trailer of him like flying through the air, coming down towards them, and then that shot of them kind of surrounding him that takes place towards the end of the movie. The hand is so sick. Like, they could have been the main villain in this movie, and that would have been badass. You could have had Daredevil in this movie. Again, I don't really want to get into who wasn't in this movie.
Well, this was my thought. Why isn't the hand just trying to get Jean Grey, and then we carve Metzger, Tillman's character, out of it, and the hand is trying to harness Jean Grey? Because they're always trying to find somebody powerful to lead the hand. So why the fuck isn't the hand trying to get Jean Grey? And he has to go on this, include fucking, this is where I want to throw New York Rolodex at it, include Kingpin, Daredevil. I know it didn't really set up for the show and Daredevil to be all this, but like include the whole Rogues Gallery into it and have that shit. That's really fun to me, is like just this race against time, maybe with the hand to get to Jean Grey, and and they get her and then obviously win her back. I think that's a more fun version of this movie that plays a little bit faster and keeps Spider-Man on a mission. This movie does not keep Spider-Man on a mission. It does not feel like there's ever a ticking clock with Jean Grey until the final act, where all of a sudden she's like paralyzed half of New York. Right. But I do enjoy the. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, they promised us some really cool stuff with the hand, and we didn't get really any more than what was in the trailer. We got like 3 minutes of them. Like, there's the really cool fight sequence at the end of the movie where he fights the hand, but they're being possessed by Jean Grey. They're not even really fighting him themselves. It kind of feels like a cop-out. And I kind of thought, based on Destin Daniel Cretton's previous martial arts direction in the MCU, some of like the coolest hand-to-hand fight sequences in the entire MCU, like all the fighting in Shang-Chi is really, really good. I kind of thought that made a lot of sense to bring the hand in on this. Like, that to me felt like a natural progression. And I don't know where the story got lost. I mean, Cretton is not a writer on this movie. I'm sure he had some input on the script, but I think a lot of this is studio mandated, so I don't really blame him. But again, it's like the poster is Spider-Man facing down the hand, and they're barely in this fucking movie, and it just felt like a major blue balls.
Yeah. Well, they're like jumping off of each other and stuff too. Like, they're doing cool stuff when they're on screen too. So I'm like, I kind of wanted that. I bought into that.
Yeah.
And so, just all the gang wars in New York just don't even exist here. Like, New York doesn't ever feel like it's on some sort of like turf war or territorial threat. Like, it just feels like Spider-Man just kind of has it on wraps. And there are some bigger threats out there, which, again, like, I don't need every movie to tell me the world's going to end, or to tell me that there's like this. I guess they're trying to go for interpersonal stakes here, but they just play it a little bit too big. Where I would just really like if we just really whittle this down, make a small scale story.
Jean Grey does freeze half of Manhattan at the end of this movie.
Right.
So.
Right. But I do like the final scenes. I do like the third act. I like that Spider-Man's able to kind of cool her down. I think it's really cool that he takes a bullet for her, and just Punisher being able, Bernthal being able to bring another dimension to Punisher, and feeling so remorseful for shooting this kid.
We really don't see remorse from Punisher that often. So it's nice to see Bernthal play that. He does have that in his bag, and you really did feel it.
Well, if he shot Daredevil, come on, Red, suck it up. Is what he's doing. And so to see him like sit in the hospital with Peter, and Jean Grey then be possessing Peter to breathe for him, like, really cool shit, really like fun conceptual shit. And that's where I'm like, I don't know which writer had input on that. If Destin Daniel Cretton figures that out, I am wondering where that's coming from, because there are things like that are really cool choices in the movie that make me have like make me want to buy in and have faith again, going forward for the next one, because I almost trust that their compass is trying to get to the right direction or something, but it's like Captain Jackson just can't point north. And that's kind of a bummer, because I think a lot of it was really cool at the end and had, a fun, him walking out and seeing the crowd like
Hmm.
appreciate Spider-Man was just so cool. And he
That's a
needed
really
that moment.
good
Like,
Peter Parker Spider-Man moment.
yeah, and he needed it. He really did.
Yeah.
But imagine if with a better story and he needed it just a little bit more.
Hmm.
Like, oh, that would have hit so hard. And I do like my dad's one gripe. I had to throw it in here. He's a big Punisher fan. And I thought it was a funny gag with the Punisher going "Ugh," in the Spider-Man
Sure.
outfit. My dad said Punisher should be saying, "That's right, motherfuckers, cheer for me." He shouldn't be just grunting, because Punisher's always been witty, right?
Yeah.
Punisher's always been way smarter than he gets credit for. And I don't love when Bernthal goes like full dipshit bozo with Punisher, because he's one of the most calculated killers in the MCU. Like,
Hmm.
I would
He's
like if they
hyper
gave him a little bit
intelligent.
more respect, right? He's very intelligent. And so I would have liked if he was doing a witty line there instead of just grunting. I liked my dad's gripe with that. I thought it was pretty
Yeah,
funny from
that's
him.
a fair criticism. I will say though that this is the first time we've ever seen Spider-Man and Punisher interact in a movie.
So cool.
And it doesn't feel that way. Like they don't have to set
Yeah.
anything up. It feels very natural. And that I really like that. Like it felt like they just
Yeah.
fit together so well from that opening sequence of Punisher like driving that tank or something through the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
And them having the back and forth. Peter's like, "Come on, Frank, like give me a break here, like get out of here," sort of
Yeah.
thing. That's fun. It's
Him
very
him having
natural.
the second gun
Oh
too
yeah,
and pulling
classic,
it up. That was
classic.
great.
Yeah.
Them having the history on Staten Island.
Hmm.
Like, I saved your ass on Staten Island. Like, I just love that. I love like Hawkeye and Black Widow having I forget where the event was.
Budapest.
Budapest. It all started in Budapest, right?
Right.
Like, I like little stuff like that. Like, you don't have to show me all that.
Hmm.
And so trust me as an audience member to think that's funny and
Exactly.
imagine that situation on Staten.
Yeah, that's where the movie does trust its audience a little bit. Like
Yeah.
it kind of interpersonal moments like that, hinting to things without having to like give us a full-on backstory flashback about all the history these characters have had. We can feel within the first 5 minutes of Spider-Man and Punisher interacting that they know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff I like out of Marvel.
And
like
they probably run into each other every 2 weeks.
right. I mean, they're both street level heroes in the MCU. That's the kind of stuff I like out of my comic book storytelling, like cool character moments between characters that we love, that have a good chemistry, that have a good rapport. I also did like Punisher realizing that he is way out of his depth when he's trying to fight the Hulk.
Yeah.
Him realizing like I'm not built for this. That was fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like Jean Grey getting his head and her saying, "This guy's got issues."
Yeah,
Like, I thought that was funny. And I love Punisher seeing Peter's face for the first time and saying, "Don't worry, I got you."
Yeah.
Like, having that honor code amongst heroes, like, so fucking cool. Him understanding the secret identity after he gives Daredevil so much shit again.
Right.
Oh, it's got to be a secret. It's got to, him giving Spider-Man that respect is just so cool. And I think they could have done more. Like, I loved everything with Punisher. I think he doesn't overstay his welcome, which is really important too. But I do have that feeling that they could do more in the future, or could have done more here, because he has so much loss in his life that I would have maybe liked him and Peter to sit down and just talk it out.
He could have
and
mentored
have
Peter
like
a lot more.
3 to 5 minute scene of like really, or like conflict their ideologies, but in a way where maybe Peter breaks through to Punisher, because Punisher is so like, every time him and Daredevil have a conflict, he will never back down from his own beliefs.
Right.
And I would like to see Punisher back down. I like when he starts crying and Peter says, "Are you crying?"
Mm-hmm.
And he starts like, Spider-Man's supposed to be the one that can break through that side of Punisher. So I like seeing that. And I would like more of that. Like, that's the full-on comic book fan of me that will just shill for the MCU for this kind of stuff. Cause this is what I go to these movies for, is to just see my characters interact, not just to see action figures smack against each other. It's to see characters go through situations together.
I will say this movie does not feel like that in the way that some of the previous entries lately in the MCU have just felt like smashing action figures together. This doesn't feel that way. It's not nearly that unsophisticated. It just, despite, I hold Spider-Man to a higher standard. And so that's kind of why I feel like I left this movie being a little disappointed. But overall, yes, there are some arcs that were attempted to be explored here. There are some new characters to latch onto. There are some like interesting moments, like we've said with Punisher, Spider-Man, this, that, and the other. Yeah, it does not feel just like cameo fest, smashing action figures together, just like really just like bland nonsense storytelling. It just feels like it got a little bit lost along the way. Like, we wanted to add way too much to this, for all the reasons we previously discussed, with all the extra characters, with the unnecessary inclusion of Ned and MJ. This movie just kind of lost its way, and it kind of lost me about, I would say, an hour in or an hour and a half in, when I realized there's still an hour left. That's when I started to kind of be like, ooh, like we might be in for something not quite as good as I wanted.
Right. I do want to build off the good in your point there, which is that even when I don't agree with some of like the Hulk usage here, or maybe don't see the point in him being in this movie, I can see why the choice was made, because the Hulk's theme does play into the themes of Spider-Man being conflicted between the monster inside, and which I still don't believe there's a monster inside. It didn't really feel like it. And Peter Parker, whereas Bruce Banner and the monster inside. Jean Grey fits like as a thematic presence in this film of loneliness. Jean Grey fits. Punisher, who we just said we loved, obviously really fits here. The characters that don't fit do kind of stick out like a sore thumb and don't enhance the movie in any way. And then all of a sudden the runtime's up to what, like nearly 2.5 hours?
It's about 2.5 hours. Yeah.
And so it shouldn't. And I don't think every film needs to be 2.5 hours. I watched, way off topic, but I watched Children of Men last night. It's like an hour 48. The amount of content they can stuff into that movie here, and that was what I was thinking, because I've seen it a ton of times, right? It's one of my favorite movies. Nicole hasn't seen it. We put it on, and I just remembered, like, holy fuck, dude, this is an hour 48. The amount of stuff they stuffed into this film. Like, so why do we need 2.5 hours to get to the point that Spider-Man is lonely in the world? When a movie as good as Children of Men can tell me in the first 5 minutes that Clive Owen's a lonely bastard, right? We're not expecting that kind of standard from MCU. But again, I'm just saying, like, we need an extra 45 minutes to get to a point that never fully arrived. And that's just really hard. That's really hard to swallow, that as somebody who loves Spider-Man and someone who still is trying to be on board with the MCU.
Are you saying that Alfonso Cuarón should direct the next Spider-Man movie?
Fucking love that. Yeah.
He did make the best Harry Potter movie, so he does know how to make franchise movies.
He did. Okay, speaking of the next director quickly, Destin Daniel Cretton.
Yes.
I think I'm in on as him being the director for this, what's probably going to be a trilogy here.
I would love to see him come back.
I'm bought into that.
I don't think he is at fault for this movie. I mean, yeah, like I said before, he probably did have some input on story beats and this, that, and the other. He is the director of the film, but we all know how MCU filmmaking works. It's a lot of studio mandated stuff. It's a lot of stuff that's really out of the hands of the director. I thought he brought as much to this as he could. Like we mentioned before, action sequences on point, all the stuff, all the action, the web swinging, the physicality of Spider-Man, the look of the movie. It all looks and feels like it is a big step up from something like No Way Home as far as the technical aspect of things. So absolutely, I would love to have him back.
I think he's accomplished the most of having his own flair in a film since like Coogler did with Black Panther in the MCU. I think he has not broken through the MCU wall. Like, this is still very much, as we both said, an MCU film. But I would say with this and Shang-Chi, like, he has accomplished a lot in getting his motion through and getting an actual style through. Like, I feel like this was made by a director. Did I feel that way with John Watts?
No.
You know, not at all. Did I feel that way with whoever did Fantastic Four, who was supposed to be John Watts originally? I have no clue.
Can't even remember who directed that now.
No, I can't. I can't either. But that's my point, right? It's like, there hasn't been Thunderbolts. No fucking clue.
Jake Schreier. Well, he is doing X-Men. Jake Schreier is, so we will be seeing him again.
Kind of excited about that, but we'll talk about that another day. But I don't feel like there's been a lot of directors who have been able to put a stamp on a movie. And I don't know if Cretton's stamp fully gets on there, but the ink's somewhere on this film. And so that was cool to see. I'm in on him being the new trilogy director.
Matt Shackman, showrunner of WandaVision, directed
Oh, that's
Fantastic
right.
Four First Steps. A movie that did have some good visual style, though. I mean, I will credit that movie. We
Yeah.
talked about it on the pod a little bit, but anyways, we're off
Yeah.
topic. Any final thoughts? Anything else we need to get out about Spider-Man Brand New Day? I feel like we've covered a lot. Is there anything that we're missing? I'm sure there is, but
No, just I never think you say he's an A plus plus character. I don't think Spider-Man should be the one that building blocks or like launches stuff in the MCU. I think the MCU should be built around him.
yes.
And
Yes.
it's just he has so much value right now because who else, I know Chris Hemsworth as Thor, I love, but Chris Hemsworth as Thor is not leading the Avengers or leading a franchise right now
Mm-hmm.
and like making you $1 billion.
He actually is leading the Avengers right
just
now,
right
though.
off. But he is right. So that's a problem. As much as I love him, that is a problem. Our roster is not good going into Doomsday, and so Spider-Man should have so much more cachet within the MCU, and just I feel like they treat him with enough respect. But it's like the baseline level of respect they should have for Spider-Man. They should be really centering their universe around this dude, and they just don't want to. And so whether that's Sony, whether that's like just lack of direction, I don't know, but they just feel like they don't want to really give the keys to Spider-Man for whatever reason. And that's a bummer because they just should. Because even when it's bad in some parts, Spider-Man's still fucking awesome.
I do want to ask a couple things. First, where do you see the next MCU Spider-Man movie going? Is it going to be more Ned and MJ? I mean, what more can we possibly do with this? So I don't really know.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be Miles Morales, right? Is that where we're going to go next?
Yeah, it's not set up. It's not set up well. Watts did a better job at setting up Cretton than Cretton did a better job at setting up himself. I will say that.
Yeah.
Fuck, I hope it's not Ned and MJ. It doesn't look like they're ever going to go like Black Cat route or like Peter's college days.
That would be just really
route,
interesting stuff to explore.
Which is crazy that we just glossed over like Peter Parker in college in general.
Right.
Just crazy.
Well, he didn't go to college.
Right.
He go. He could have.
And so, he just affords rent, just little stuff that Peter Parker, notoriously always does, which is pay rent in time. No stakes. I don't know. They must be doing something in Secret Wars and Doomsday.
Yeah.
That's
well, he's going to do Black
Spider-Man
Suit, obviously.
Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an arc that's been done quite a bit in film.
I really think the best thing for this character would be to kill MJ.
Yeah.
But we've already kind of tried to half-ass do the depressed, lonely Spider-Man. So I think she has to die. I don't think there's a more interesting route you could go for the character. I also just kind of want her to be out of this franchise just so we don't have to be bogged down by that relationship anymore.
Yeah.
But I just think that'd be interesting.
It's just so shackled. I wouldn't have minded if when he dropped her or Jean Grey pushed her off of the rooftop that she saw that was Peter dropping her off the rooftop and that he had held her up like that. And then she's like, fuck, I don't want to be around this guy. And then he feels like he's an actual monster. I don't know, like some sort of stakes or some sort of self-pity out of it. Yeah, maybe he kills her in the black suit.
They'll never do that. They will never do that.
They kill Zendaya.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
right.
If they let us write the next Spider-Man entry, whatever, yeah, I would go a route similar to that.
Just go full on. I don't know. It did feel like we just like it was really cool that they did it, but it does feel sometimes like a here damn with the street level stuff.
Yeah, like fine. We'll give you 4 minutes at the beginning of the movie. Fuck off.
And at least hopefully he won't go back to Europe. I think Spider-Man in Europe makes less sense than Spider-Man in outer space.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man in outer space makes a lot more sense to me. I don't know how excited I am about it. I think they're going to try and bring back Toby or Andrew for one of these movies.
That's also where I want to go. So I got two things for you.
Okay, go ahead with that. Yeah.
Say what you will about Far From Home, but that movie is infinitely more interesting because it has a really cool villain and like some stuff I think that works much better than this movie. I want to ask you, where would you put? I want to get into like the future Spider-Man because like the post-credit scene of this movie, I think, is obviously hinting towards Tobey Maguire multiverse Spider-Man being in Doomsday. Before we do that, though, I want to ask you, where would you put this among the MCU Spider-Man films? Like, how would you just quickly off the top
Uh,
of your head, where does this fit for you?
it's so weird because I think a couple years ago I would have told you like I love a lot of the MCU Spider-Man, and now I'm kind of like lukewarm on him in general, just
Mm-hmm.
growing taste and rewatchability has not been high for this entire MCU franchise for me. I think Homecoming's my favorite still. Like I still think that's like the tightest screenplay, the one that moves the most, the one that still gives me the most of Spider-Man that I want to see. Um, No Way Home, I guess. Like again, I'm not going to rewatch it all that much, but I still think that first theater experience is really cool. I like
Mm-hmm.
the, I don't know, the ending's kind of diminished now for me, which was one of my favorite parts about the film. I do have this above Far From Home, but I am curious to see where the rewatchability factor plays in because I Far From Home is probably one of the least rewatchable Spider-Man films for me.
Yeah.
And so I am curious to see where this one lands because that middle act does really drag. But I can see myself getting suckered in by the first 20 minutes, being like, that's some cool Spider-Man shit that I want to see, and then
Yeah.
turning it off.
I currently have this as the weakest Spider-Man entry in the MCU. Not by much,
That's fair.
but I do feel currently that it is the weakest entry. Um, that could change. I mean, I've only seen it once, so I would definitely like to rewatch it to maybe have a better idea. But
Yeah.
currently, that's where I have it is four out of four, which is I was not thinking at
Yeah.
all going into this
No,
movie.
me
I was
neither.
thinking maybe it could be the best,
Yeah,
and
me too.
yeah, it was it's definitely underwhelming.
It hilariously gives me the most of what I want as morsels of Spider-Man, and also gives me the least of what I want at
Mm-hmm.
the same time.
Yeah,
Like the whole middle to me is the least of what I want out of MCU Spider-Man, and the whole like first 20 last 15 minutes are like exactly what I want MCU Spider-Man to be and where I think he could fit in well. And so that's a weird, paradox that I'm dealing with because it could I see why people are like this is the best one. I see why people are like this is the worst one. You're not as high on it. And so I'm in that weird tweener state where I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of I don't know if Soderbergh makes a cut of it, which he never will, right? And like cut some stuff out where
a black
I
and
don't
white cut
know,
with the Social Network score playing in the
like
background,
yeah,
no
or like
dialogue.
Ron Howard redoes it or something. I don't know, but yeah, and it's somewhere in the middle of grand scheme of Spider-Man.
Yeah, yeah, it feels caught in the middle. That's kind of how I feel with this movie in general. Just kind of caught in the middle, like not loving it, not hating it. That's why I gave it 3.5 stars. I think that's a fair
Yeah,
rating. Some people are going to love this movie, and
yeah,
good for them. I really wanted to love it. I think a lot of people are really enjoying it. My brother Max, who I talked to, really, really liked it. He was, I
oh
think, a
cool,
little bit caught off guard when I said I didn't enjoy it as much as he did. Max, if you're listening, hopefully you have a better understanding of our feelings on this movie.
right,
But I've also talked to some people, like the people we saw it with. I think they felt pretty similarly to us. A couple of
yeah,
people out of the theater that I talked to that I know or I'm friends with kind of had similar feelings for us. So I don't feel like we are fully on an island here, not
yeah.
being in love with this movie.
No, I had tickets to a second showing, and Nicole didn't go back with me. My wife didn't go back because she was like, like it's fine, just take.
Right.
Because I bought for like all the people that report to me at work. We went as a team, and a lot of them were really high on it, but they're all also about like 5, 10 years younger than me in that range,
Right.
and
They just wanted a
so
fun time at the movies. And so did
they just
we.
want a fun time at the movies. Caden, my lead doc rep, said that was one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Sure. Good
And
for you,
I,
Caden.
I
Like,
was
I'm
like,
happy
that's
for you,
fucking
man.
awesome, like that. And so I was like, it almost brought a tear to my eye that he like had this big smile on his face and was like, that movie was just fucking awesome. He
Uh-huh.
was had that childish joy about him. And I'm like, oh, dude, like you're still at that phase in life where like you can just watch a superhero movie
I
and
wish
feel
we could
that.
have
I'm
that
like,
a little bit.
I'm in a
We've
weird,
become a
I
bit
know,
too
I wish I could
cynical.
have that. I know, it's fucking sucks.
Yeah. Um, I really have nothing else to say on it other than that. I mean, I think we've communicated our thoughts pretty well. I wish we were maybe a bit less cynical at this point, but I think the MCU has
Yeah.
driven us to this point, Dante. I don't think we've done it to
Yeah.
ourselves. Close us out
No,
here. Final thoughts. What
I,
do you got?
I hope I agree with you, and I hope that by us being cynical, somehow demanding more, and fuck, I'm not gonna not show up opening weekend for for Doomsday, dude. But
Oh, we're gonna
I
fucking
hope
be
so-
there. I mean, come on. Come
hope,
on.
I hope somehow that us and other people maybe voicing some of these concerns can keep getting it in the right direction, because I do feel like there's stuff in this film to not be cynical about, and that was in the right direction. And I think a lot of it comes from people voicing their opinions about No Way Home or about missteps in the MCU and just not having flavor, not having, unique choices. And maybe they'll keep learning from that. Like, I really do want to be optimistic on that part, that this does, in the grander scheme of things, feel like a decent step in the right direction for the MCU. Despite us saying all of our feelings that were maybe negative towards the movie, it does feel like, from just a filmmaking standpoint and from a story attempt standpoint, that we are trying better things, bolder ideas. And I want to keep heading in that direction, from Thunderbolts having a story about like suicide, depression, that sort of stuff, to this being a very, in parts, somber story. I like those tones. I like when the MCU is trying to do something. And I like that the direction has a flavor to it. So I know those are weird, low standards to have in a way. But if we're getting in that direction slowly, maybe in about 5 years, we'll have another classic out of the MCU.